Okay, let's try a little thought experiment. Imagine your life is this huge, powerful river. Now, you really only have two ways to travel down it. You can either swim against the current with all your might, fighting and struggling for every inch, or you can turn around and let the river's own power carry you forward. You know, most of us, and we don't even realize we're doing it, we spend our entire lives swimming upstream. But what if there's a better, more powerful way to exist? Let's dive into that.
So let me ask you a question, and be honest with yourself. Are you swimming upstream? Do you find yourself fighting the morning traffic, fighting deadlines at work, fighting with your own disappointment? Do you treat life like it's this opponent that you have to conquer every single day? That feeling, that constant, exhausting struggle, that's exactly what we're going to unpack here.
And really, the difference between these two paths is like night and day. On the one hand, you have this constant fight against life. That path, swimming against the current, it just leads to one place: exhaustion, friction, and a whole lot of unnecessary suffering. But on the other hand, you've got flowing with life, aligning yourself with reality. And that, well, that opens the door to peace, to being way more effective, and to finding some real joy. And let's be super clear, this isn't about giving up, not at all. It's about getting smarter.
So, if it's so much better to flow, why do we fight so hard? Well, it turns out that this impulse to resist, to push back, it's pretty much baked into us. It's a story we've been hearing our entire lives.
Just think about the words we use every day. Our language frames life as a kind of war, doesn't it? We're told to fight for what we want, to battle our inner demons, to conquer our challenges. It's all this battle language. And what that does is it sets us up for a state of constant conflict, not just with the world, but with ourselves too.
And here's the absolute key to it all. That constant pushing creates friction, a ton of it. When we resist the things we just can't change, a medical diagnosis, a layoff at work, or just the simple fact that things didn't go the way we planned, we are literally generating our own suffering. All that energy we spend wrestling with what is, just imagine what we could do with it if we weren't wasting it.
But it doesn't have to be this way. I mean, what if there's another path? For centuries, ancient philosophies have been pointing to an alternative to this whole exhausting fight, and they often found the answer by looking at nature, especially at water.
A perfect example of this is the Taoist concept of Wu Wei. It's often translated as effortless action. Now, that sounds a lot like being lazy, right? But it's actually the complete opposite. It's about taking action that is so perfectly in tune with the natural flow of things that it feels effortless. Like a master surfer riding a huge wave. They aren't fighting the wave, they're using its power. That's Wu Wei.
The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu just captured this so perfectly. Think about it. Water is soft, yielding, but over time it can carve through the hardest rock to create a canyon. It doesn't do it with brute force. It does it through persistence, through gentle, constant flow. It adapts. It goes around obstacles. And in the end, it wins. That's real power.
And it wasn't just the Taoists. The Stoics in ancient Greece were on the exact same page. What Epictetus is saying here is simple, but it's so profound. He's saying, look, some things are up to you, and a lot of things just aren't. Real peace, real serenity, it doesn't come from trying to force the world to be what you want it to be. It comes from aligning your wishes with the way the world actually is. Okay, so this all sounds great, but you might be thinking, is this just some old philosophical idea? Well, no. It turns out that modern science is totally catching up and validating these exact same concepts. There are real, measurable, biological reasons why letting go feels so good.
The brilliant psychologist Carl Jung absolutely nailed it with this line: "What you resist persists." Have you ever tried to force yourself to fall asleep? Or you tell yourself, don't be nervous, don't be anxious. What happens? You just get more wired, more anxious. By fighting the feeling, you're actually feeding it. You're giving it all your energy.
And this internal battle, it's not just in your head. It has a very real, physical cost. Chronic resistance puts your body into a constant state of emergency. It's just flooding your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline 24/7. And over the long haul, that leads directly to burnout, chronic anxiety, and can even make you physically sick. The fight is literally wearing our bodies down. So, what's the antidote? It's one word: acceptance. And this is the core principle behind incredibly effective modern therapies like acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. The whole idea is that when you stop wrestling with uncomfortable emotions, when you just allow them to be there, something amazing happens.
Your nervous system literally calms down, the feeling loses its grip on you, and you get your power back.
Okay, I get it. This all sounds fantastic in theory, but how in the world do we actually do this? In our real lives when things are chaotic and stressful? Well, let's break it down into some practical steps.
It really boils down to 5 core practices. First, it all has to start with awareness. You just have to notice when you're doing it, that feeling of your jaw clenching or your shoulders tensing up. That's resistance. Step 2, once you see it, is acceptance. This is where you consciously decide to just drop the rope, stop the internal argument with reality. Then from there, you can try reframing. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you ask, what can I learn from this? That little switch often leads right into gratitude, where you start to notice what you do have, not just what's missing. And finally, all of this together builds trust. Trust in yourself that you can handle whatever comes next.
Now, I have to make a really important point here, because this is where a lot of people get it wrong. Flowing is not the same as being passive. Passivity is just giving up. It's collapsing into helplessness. Flowing is an active, engaged, and highly intelligent state. The sailor analogy is perfect. A great sailor doesn't fight the wind. That's impossible. They adjust their sails to use the wind's power to get exactly where they want to go. See the difference?
Let me tell you a quick story that just brings this whole idea home. It shows the incredible power that's unleashed when we finally decide to stop fighting that war inside ourselves.
So let's talk about Maria. For years, she was in an all-out war with her own body. She had a chronic illness, and her entire life became about fighting it. She researched every possible treatment, she raged at her body for its limitations. That struggle wasn't just a part of her life, it was her life. And it was completely and utterly exhausting.
And then one day, she just hit a wall. She reached her breaking point. And in that moment of pure exhaustion, something inside her just shifted. She simply couldn't fight anymore. So instead, she started to listen. She accepted her limitations. She learned to rest when her body told her to rest. For the first time, she started working with her body instead of treating it like an enemy.
And here's the profound part. The war inside her ended. Now, her illness didn't magically disappear, but her suffering did, and joy started to creep back into her life. Her world might have gotten a little smaller on the outside, but on the inside, it became infinitely richer. Her peace didn't come from changing her circumstances. It came from changing her relationship to them. So, if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. Flowing with the river is not about drifting aimlessly like a leaf in the wind. Not at all. It's about being a skilled kayaker moving purposefully toward your destination, but using the river's own energy to get there with so much more ease and so much less struggle. So I'll just leave you with this one last thought to chew on. What if this whole idea we have of life being a constant battle? What if it's just a story we've been telling ourselves? What if life isn't an opponent to be conquered, a fight to be won? What if it's simply a river to be navigated? How would that one little shift in perspective change how you move through your day, starting right now?